Welcome back, it's story time again. Check the description box for the timestamps. Let's get right into it. Story number 1. Opie writes, I, 22 female, have known I've wanted to be a mom and have a family since I was little. I've been with my partner, 24 male, for 6 years now, and he was aware of this. He supported it, but obviously wanted to wait, to start trying till we were older. I felt the same given we were still young when we first got together and not in the position to start a family. But now we both have graduated from college, are working stable jobs and are engaged. Now that we are at this stage, we discussed and agreed to start actively trying for a baby. That was about 7 months ago. He's known how badly I've wanted this and have seen how upset I've gotten each month when tests come back negative. But he always supported me and comforted me, telling me it'll all happen soon. But it didn't work. 2 weeks ago, he told me we need to talk. Those words never sound good, and they weren't. He ended up telling me that he had a vasectomy performed while I was on a trip with friends for my 21st birthday last year. While I respect his decision to do so, I still can't help but be hurt that he did this and yet kept telling me, quote, not to worry, unquote, and that, quote, it'll happen soon, unquote, and how, quote, excited, unquote, he was to be taking this step. I just don't understand why he couldn't have told me he wasn't ready or didn't want kids. Prior to us starting to, quote, try, unquote, I was on birth control and we used other protection methods. I really thought we were on the same page about wanting kids someday, and when we decided to start trying, I'm just in complete shock that he hid such a major thing from me. We haven't been speaking much, and he's been staying with his brother since he told me. I don't know how we can work this out or move past this. I still love him, but I'm hurt that he acted like nothing was wrong. It's making me doubt if I even want to go through with our wedding now, but at the same time, I don't want to leave. Let's get to comments and then we go to Opie's update. What else hasn't he told her or won't tell her in the future? I really don't understand people. Everything is a damn game until you find out the truth years later. Someone else says, that is such a cruel thing. He comforted and encouraged you. Gosh, that is so cruel, evil, and disgusting. And here's Opie's update. I've gotten a lot of messages and questions regarding an update. I met to talk with my fiancé this morning and figured I would share the outcome of that conversation, as well as answer a lot of questions I've seen in comments or that I've received privately. I have received a lot of questions/comments about, quote, his body, his choice, unquote. And yes, I do agree with this statement. I said in my original post, I respect his decision. It was his choice, his body, and his right to have a vasectomy performed. I never said I was upset that he had it done, but rather upset that when we began to start trying, he acted as though he had not had it done and kept it hidden, leaving me wondering why I couldn't get pregnant when he knew exactly why. That was the issue. I don't understand how that wasn't apparent. Further, I had a lot of questions about how I couldn't tell he had it done. I know nothing about vasectomies. So yes, I believed his claim of having it done when I was gone on a girls' trip for my 21st birthday. But comments about the healing time frame and follow-up testing made me doubt this/doubt that he had it done. The more I looked into the time frame of having the procedure done, I doubted him. Before all of this came out, I never had any doubts in my partner. He was always very trustworthy, caring, kind, and loving. We rarely argue or fight, and even when we have, it's been over minor things. I never saw any red flags, and those in my personal life never did either. He was genuinely a great guy, which is what made not just leaving hard. We've been together for 6 years, and we were set to be married in February. We have both invested so much time into this whole relationship, as well as time and money into our wedding. So just ending things didn't feel that easy for either of us. We had been staying apart from each other to give each other time to cool down before discussing what this would mean for our potential to have a future together. We met this morning to discuss the situation, so I could ask him why he hid this, and he shocked me even more. I blatantly asked him why he had the procedure done and when he began having doubts about having kids. His response was that he never doubted having kids, but started to doubt his ability to have one / get me pregnant. He followed this up by saying he never had the procedure and knew as little about them as I did. Instead, he had apparently discovered he had a lower than average sperm count due to hormonal issues at a recent doctor's appointment after he mentioned we had been trying without any luck. The appointment was in August. He brought paperwork detailing and proving this to our meeting as well. He told me he didn't know how to bring the topic up and mentioned that it made him feel embarrassed. And since he was told he wasn't infertile and that we may just have a harder time getting pregnant, he said he was just hoping it would just eventually happen so he wouldn't have to say anything. He says he regrets hiding this and regrets creating a lie to cover it, and I do forgive him. We did rediscuss having kids, to which he assured me is something he still wants. I feel relief knowing his concern, words of encouragement and comfort after every negative test was genuine, as he did truly want them to be positive. When I asked why he created the lie of having a vasectomy rather than just telling me about the fertility issues, it again went back to him saying he felt a sense of embarrassment about the issue. He said he thought saying he had this on purpose would save him the embarrassment of not being able to get me pregnant. He claims his inability to do so these last few months has made him doubt his masculinity, and that by creating the idea that he purposely chose to be sterile would make him seem, quote, like more of a man, unquote. While I don't fully understand this way of thinking, I guess I can slightly understand how these issues may have made him feel less than when he wasn't, and shouldn't have felt that way. I offered him comfort, and we discussed looking into medical interventions as well as just continuing to attempt to conceive naturally. I'm not leaving my fiancé. Yes, I was upset over his lie, but he deeply regrets it. We both still love each other, both still want to be married, and both still want kids. We will, however, be looking into attending individual and couples therapy to get over this. We are going to postpone the wedding since it's only 4 months away, and in the meantime keep trying to conceive naturally. We decided we will look into intervention methods after our wedding. I appreciate everyone's advice on my last post. Thank you. I will try to answer any further questions in the comments, but hope this answers a majority of them / clears everything up. Thanks. Okay, let's get a couple of comments. Sounds like you're about to be lied to a lot since he got away with it the first time. Good luck. And someone else says, so he lied to save his feelings in the expense of yours. Okay, OP, first thing I want to say is you mentioned that you had spent so much time and money planning the wedding. That should never ever be a reason to continue a relationship because you've got a wedding come up and you've invested money and time in it. I think quite a few of us have known people over the years that wanted to call off the wedding but felt the same way. We've already spent money, so let's go ahead and get married, only to discover that a divorce is a lot more expensive. And more importantly, you can never get that time back that you've lost. But the thing that really stands out in the story is the lack of communication. Why your fiancé felt embarrassed that he couldn't share this with you after 6 years together. He didn't feel comfortable sharing this with you and went and lied and made up the story about a vasectomy. It's quite elaborate. It's quite an extreme lie in my opinion. It's obviously your decision to continue this relationship. It's good that the wedding is on hold for now and that the two of you are going to therapy. So I hope you will learn now to communicate honestly and openly with each other. And I hope he realizes that a man is defined by a whole lot more than his fertility. For example, things like integrity, that's very important. Let's move on to story number 2. Opie writes, "My husband and I have been together for 9 years. He started his company with some friends of his a year after. He is the major owner. They have 120 employees now, 80% men. About a year ago, my husband has stopped taking me to company parties, events, dinners, etc. He always made up some excuse about taking mother-in-law instead, or some other family member. Also, sometimes he didn't tell me at all that there was some event and just went by himself, the smaller events. He said it was because he wanted the rest of the family to celebrate him too. I was a bit hurt, but I thought that he was probably right. He is now in a big city in Europe on a launch of a product. He took sister-in-law with him. I admit that I cried when he excluded me this time too, because this was a big deal for his company, but he promised that he would take me on a luxury vacation instead, just the two of us. This is his thing now. Every time I'm excluded, I get a trip or jewelry. I'm good friends with the other wives, the owners, and one of them is 8 months pregnant, so she wasn't in that city. She was surprised to know that I was home too, so we planned a lunch. This is when she told me about an incident that happened at my husband's work. In one of the conference rooms, somebody forgot to turn the projector off from the previous meeting. The conference rooms are located in the middle with glasswork walls and doors so everybody can see inside. On the big screen, there was a list of names. The wives of the owners and some of the management, and my name was first, one with 1, 2, 3, 10 empty and the next name on 11. My husband heard about this and they had an internal investigation, and it turned out that a group of co-workers were having fun ranking boobs of the wives. My husband was very angry. The wife who was telling me was very surprised that I didn't know, because this had created a buzz apparently, and her husband told her about it. She assumed my husband told me too, but he didn't. When I asked her when this was, it was around the same time my husband stopped inviting me to his parties. I'm so hurt and embarrassed now. I didn't know he was ashamed of me. I'm 100% sure this is the reason why he doesn't want me there, and I don't know if I should confront him about it. I haven't done anything wrong, and at least I deserve to know what's been going on behind my back. I'm just so mad. Edits. Sorry, it's hard for me to know what to include and not include. Maybe some details are unnecessary, and that I left out important details. Almost none of the guys from that group work there anymore. I never wear provocative or revealing clothes. It makes me more sad, because if he is blaming me, then I don't know what I should have worn to the events. Let's get a comment with a reply from Opie before we get Opie's update. You need to talk to him. It's either he's protecting you from them, ashamed of you, or ashamed of what happened. Also, what happened to those guys? They should have been fired, suspended, or warned. If he didn't do anything about it besides getting angry, you have the right to be mad at him. Still wrong for excluding you because those men are at fault, not you. Opie replies, some were fired, others bought out. I think none of them works there now. Update. Thank you for your comments. The majority seem to believe that my husband's reaction was the right and healthy one, because he loves me and wants to protect me. The love part I understand. We both love each other, but the protect me part? I'm 38 and I can stand up for myself. Would it be okay if the roles were reversed? Do I have any rights to keep him away if it was his D that was ranked by my colleagues? I'm not something to be hidden and protected. I don't know. I don't mean to offend the people that comment, because I'm not ungrateful, but I really want to understand. Update. Hi gang, I have a little update. I hope I don't ramble away your whole evening though. I don't know how to feel about everything right now. Before I update, I want to address something. I stand by the title. I got many messages, probably from men, asking why I called it, quote, making fun, unquote, when they were rating me, quote, high, unquote. Let me tell you this, unsolicited compliments are harassment. A bunch of men that I don't know or care about discussing my and other women's bodies is not cute. I don't feel special and I don't get any satisfaction nor confidence from it. I know this will bring more hate in the DMs, but this is the dark side of the internet and I'm aware of it, so bring your best misogynistic crap on. I will report anybody who steps over my boundaries though. Second, I think I made the top of the list basically because my husband is the owner, not because I'm humble bragging about my quote hotness unquote. My husband arrived this morning. Maybe I should have waited until tomorrow to talk to him and just spend today cuddling. Oh well, I made it till lunch after his nap. I told him about my lunch with the other wife and asked him if he stopped taking me to the company events because of what happened, and he simply said yes. Didn't even try to deny it. I asked him why, and he was surprised because it was obvious. He said that he didn't want his colleagues ogling his wife, disrespecting him. He didn't tell me because he didn't want to upset or hurt me, and that he was sorry that I found out. I told him that he should have let me decide what embarrassed and hurt me, that I felt like he had taken away my agency. He got annoyed and said, quote, I don't want my private life mixed with my work life. I like to keep them separate, unquote. I tried to argue some more, but he just shut me down and said that this discussion was over. I didn't feel good afterwards, but I dropped it anyway. He apologized later and told me to respect how we handled the situation. He felt undermined and disrespected when the gossip started about me and the other wives. So did the other CEOs and management, but with me there were more gruesome details, like photoshopped pornographic pictures and clips with my face that were being spread around. I'm a minority, so there were some elements of fetishism and racism involved. I was targeted more than the other women, and that's why the others didn't take the drastic measures my husband did. There was a huge inquiry with HR and IT departments involved to trace the source, and many were fired and bought out. My husband decided then that he didn't want this to happen ever again, and his solution was to separate work and private life. I didn't argue, just listened to him. I have to say, and I know that you, based on the support my husband got in my previous post, that you will disagree with me, that I totally disagree with how he handled this. They did a great job taking this matter seriously, taking actions against those who were involved. And I was what? Collateral damage? Casualties? I should have decided about something that targeted me as a person, but he did it for himself. He wanted to spare himself the headache and embarrassment/disrespect, not me. I have been with him since the start, and I have been his number one believer, even when things were rough in the beginning, and I basically own half his shares. All of this is all so unfair. Sorry for another rant. Won't be the last, I'm afraid, but I hope the grammar was better this time because I did proofread. Someone comments, looks like he's bringing his boss attitude home. He sees this as a job issue rather than a relationship issue. I'm sorry, OP. OP replies, how can I make him understand it's a relationship issue too? Well, OP, I agree. It is a relationship issue as well as a work issue. He took care of the work issue part, but he didn't involve you. When I read your first post, I thought these employees were rating the bodies of the wives and that was the extent of it. So I could understand why your husband didn't want to share that with you. But then in your second post, you cleared up that your image was actually photoshopped on pornographic images and it was spread around. That to me is a smear campaign, and you should have been made aware of it, OP. You also said that when you were trying to discuss this with your husband, he said the discussion was over and that's it. But he's dealt with it. For him, it's in the past, but you only just found out. So it's only natural that you want to know more about everything that went down. And of course, you're upset that your husband didn't tell you what was going on. You also said in your first post that you never dressed provocatively or anything like that when you attended these events. That is completely besides the point because all the wives were rated. So it's got nothing to do with what anybody was wearing at all. You could have been dressed as a nun, and I promise you, OP, you still would have been rated and all of this still would have happened. It sounds like they've got beef with your husband and they try to get to him by disrespecting you. There's so much more going on here, more to unpack. But I'll just end this by saying that it's very unfair that you, OP, who has been there from the start when your husband started this business, you have been there, you've supported him, and now you don't get to share in the celebrations with him because of the behavior of a handful of idiots. Is your husband really going to allow those guys to take that away from the two of you? You should be there celebrating your husband's achievements with him. And by not allowing you to do that, by saying, oh, private and business stay separate, well, at these kinds of events, people bring their significant others. And you should be there as well. Otherwise, in a way, they have won. Well, I'm sure a lot of you have more to say because, as I said, there's actually a lot to unpack here and with our first story. So leave your comments. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. And thank you for listening. I'll see you again next time.